Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Practice Pulse podcast. I am your host, Dr. Aditi Agarwal. I'm a practicing dentist and co-founder of Practice by Numbers. But today we are talking about celebrating platforms that power dentistry. And I have a very distinguished guest with me, and it is a real pleasure and honor to have you. This is Dayna Johnson. She's a dental practice management expert. She's a podcast host. She's founder of Novonee, which I will let her tell you what it is, and has been a part of the industry for more than 30 years. So welcome, Dayna. It is really an honor to have you on today.
Thank you so much. I was very excited when you asked me to be a guest. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about how you became an expert in Dentrix.
Yeah, it kind of happened by accident. I was working full-time in a dental practice. Actually, let me back up just a little bit more. I was working for my uncle Dave, and he had a computer company that installed computers into medical and dental offices. So I actually started out building computers and installing networks in medical and dental offices. And so I actually have a tech background. I mean, that's kind of where I started. I kind of fell into that. And then I went to work for my first dental practice up in the state of Washington. So I'm originally from Washington, close by you.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to work for my first dental practice. And then I went to work for my second dental practice in 94 on Whidbey Island. And they were still full paper charts and like no computers in the office. And me being like having a tech background, I'm like, well, we need to get new software and we need to get computers in this office. And so I really started to push the doctor for upgrading the technology in the office. And finally, in about 2003, he finally said, okay, we're ready to get computers and get new software. And so I took on the task of doing demos and figuring out what practice management software we were going to transition from, because we were using a DOS-based software. I mean, like C:\/ and the whole works. And so we ended up getting Dentrix in my office, and this was in 2003. And so when I first was trained on Dentrix and transitioned from a new software, I was like very frustrated. You know, I didn't like the software. I wanted to return it. I wanted to go back to my old ways, but I knew I couldn't do that. And so I needed to learn everything about the software in order for me to love it. And so in 2005, they were looking for certified Dentrix trainers in the state of Washington. And so I applied. And not that I wanted to be a trainer. I just wanted to be an expert in Dentrix for my own office, because I was working full time in a dental practice. I was not expecting to become a full-time trainer. But then I got Dentrix in my office. I became a trainer. And then I started to go out and do trainings like a couple times a month. And what I found was I loved training so much. It was like, it brought me so much joy to go into offices and help them improve their systems and optimize their software. And so I just started doing more of that. And, you know, in the meantime, I became an expert in my office. I helped my office go paperless. So I learned how to do all of that in my own office. And that's really where I began, where I started from.
Wow, what an amazing story. And that's, you know, it's funny that you said that you started pushing your doctor to, to start adding technology in 94, and it wasn't until 2003 that the switch actually happened. So that's just a testament to us as dentists, and I can say that we are, we're slow to change, but when we do change, we really do adopt it full and wholeheartedly.
For sure.
So it's really incredible that you kept pushing and kept, evolving, both as the software evolved and as the practice evolved, that you kept wanting to learn more. Quite incredible and awesome.
I know So the funny thing is my office ended up being paperless before we were chartless. I know. Doesn't that sound funny? So people are like, what does that mean exactly? And well, my doctor still could not figure out, or still was not ready to transition to digital X-ray.
Yeah.
And so we were still taking film X-ray, and I already had the office paperless. Like, we were already doing electronic forms and all of that, electronic charting. Everything else was paperless except for our X-rays. And so we had a folder, a chart just for the X-rays. And then finally my doctor was like, okay, I guess I need to come into the 21st century. And then we ended up getting imaging. And when we got digital imaging, one of the first things he said was, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner?
Of course he did.
Of course.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. What a fun story. Really, what you think, in your opinion, what makes Dentrix stand out from when you compare other practice management software options out there today? And there's a great question.
There are so many. A great question. There's so many. There's so many practice management softwares on the market now. I feel that Dentrix is one of the oldest softwares on the market. And what I really value about the Dentrix core software is that they are still, to this day, 40 years later, actively enhancing it and actively adding new features and actively adding new technology to it. So they've not let it go stale. They're continually improving the software and listening to the customers and making it better. And that's really what I love about the software. And it is the most feature rich. It really has everything you need, and everything is built inside the software. So it has everything you need to run a dental practice. And so I think that that's what really makes it stand out. Now, of course, it is still a server-based software. So, it's still, you have a little bit of limitations as far as getting your practice, seeing it off when you're off site. But I have seen some offices that have created some very streamlined remote access. And so you definitely can make it work. But I think just the innovation and the enhancements that Dentrix developers are still doing with the software 40 years later is impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously, it's been there. It's a beacon. It's been there. It's a pillar in dentistry, really. It's 100%. Been there for, like you said, like over 40 years. And, they are constantly upgrading and changing, and it's always evolving. It's not a stagnant sort of tool. And of course, now we have the cloud version, right? With Dentrix Ascend.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible too. I've heard really great things about Ascend as well. So now here's a question for you. Say we have a practice owner that's wanting to choose a practice management system.
Yeah.
Would you say go? And they ask me, hey, what should I
use?
Because I get the question all the time. What should I use? Should I go Dentrix or should I Ascend? And I'm like, well, let's ask the expert.
And I get that question a lot. And
I figured you did.
I do. I get that question a lot. Should I transition to Ascend? I'm on a different software. Which one would you recommend? And my first question is is really tell me a little bit more about your practice, because there are two completely different softwares. And it really depends on what you want to do with your practice. Because, if you're a solo practitioner, if you're a private practice, 1 to 3, 4 doctors in your practice, you have one location. I think Dentrix is still the pillar of the dental industry. I really still feel like the Dentrix software is the best on the market. If the doctor says to me, I'm thinking about expanding my practices, I'm going to have, maybe 1 to 5 locations, or maybe they have this big dream of having, a small DSO. Then I would point them to Dentrix Ascend, because Ascend was built for multi-location practices. You can see all locations, with a drop-down menu. You can log in. You can assign different rights to different offices. So there's so much versatility with Ascend if you're going to have multi-location practice. Now, if you're a solo practitioner, private practice, and the doctor is like, I really want to be able to log into my practice at any time of the day. I want it in the cloud. I want to have access to it, then Dentrix Ascend is your best option, even if you're a solo practitioner. So those are usually my two kind of guiding lights, the North Star per se, if, depending on what you're going to be doing with your practice. And, it's because I have a lot of my private practice doctors are asking me, should I go to Ascend? And I'm like, are you going to be purchasing more practices? No, I love my private practice. Then stay where you are. There's no reason to go to Ascend if you have Dentrix Core and you love it. Because there's going to be it's a big deal to convert to a new software. There's a lot of training involved. There's a little bit of downtime. You may lose some data that you don't want to lose. So, it's a big deal to convert to a new software.
Absolutely. And, the big deal also comes with staffing, because you have staffing who are used to some of these softwares, and they know it, and they know it like the back of their hand. And tell them, oh, we're going to switch something that you work with every single day. I swear they're going to look at you like you're an alien.
I know. And then, the doctors will say something like, well, our software, Dentrix software is just a mess. There's all these duplicates and there's, the ledgers are a mess. And I'm like, moving to a different software is not going to fix any of that, because it's your team that is creating these problems in your software. You're having brand new software might give you a clean slate at the beginning, but all these problems are going to come back if you're not trained properly.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so many, third-party vendors that we can attach onto Dentrix to make it, a cloud-based system where you still have the benefits of cloud, but you have the, what do you call it? The steadfastness of an on-prem system, which your staff loves, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So. Like I said earlier, Dentrix has everything you need to run a practice. But there are things that you can add on to your practice management software, like Practice by Numbers, that will give you the analytics, that you can remote into and get on your phone. It does have all that automation that you need to stay connected with your patients. It has the online booking that removes barriers to allow patients to schedule online. So all of those, all the icing on the cake comes from, all of our really amazing third-party vendors that sync data back and forth into Dentrix.
Absolutely. And there is no cake without icing, as my kids say.
That is so true. That is so true.
So what are a few things that you would say Dentrix does especially well that people may not know?
Yeah. I think, probably one of my favorite things, or a couple of my favorite things, and also underutilized things, is I love perfect day scheduling, so I love being able to give my team, my scheduling team, a
Mm-hmm.
roadmap so that our days are less stressful. We
Mm-hmm.
meet production goal. We have time to see new patients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having a roadmap for your online scheduling platform. And, so online or a perfect day scheduling in Dentrix, I think is so underutilized and it's so valuable, especially now when you have new team members coming into dentistry that may not even know how to schedule. They're
Yeah.
like, where should I put this crown prep? Oh, I'm going to put it right next to this root canal. It's like, no, you can't do that. So I think having a roadmap is really, really important. So I think that's one of the things I love about the Dentrix software. Then it just is, I love how you can have flexibility with presenting treatment estimates.
Mm-hmm.
Treatment planning is one of those processes that affects the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
The clinical team is entering the treatment plan. So we can make it really streamlined with having good procedure buttons. We can create these amazing multi-codes that make treatment planning super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then the handoff with presenting treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I love that we can get accurate estimates in Dentrix, whether you're in network or out of network.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really helpful for the patient to be able to see an estimate that shows what their patient portion is. And
Mm-hmm.
then we can store credit cards on file. We can send out electronic text statements, so all of those things are very connected.
That's amazing. That's amazing. For our listeners, again, today we are being joined by Dayna Johnson. She is a Dentrix expert, and we are really celebrating platforms that power dentistry. And one of the oldest and the coolest ones that's been there for over 40 years is
Yeah.
Dentrix. And I am really honored to be having this conversation because it's a legendary product, technology product that's been in dentistry, but not a lot has been spoken about it. It's like a standing powerhouse that nobody really ever talks about.
I
So
agree.
it's really great to have this conversation and for listeners to kind of understand what it is and how it's different, because as a user, I'm a dentist myself, and sometimes I'm trying to put I'm a mid-career dentist now, but when I would say when I was a younger dentist and I was faced with all these choices and
Mm-hmm.
really wonder what is the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to really have these conversations for our listeners out there who are, wanting to either buy a practice or open up a practice, to understand what are these different
Mm-hmm.
software that are available. Because like you said, sometimes it's about deciding where you want to go,
Yeah.
right? You don't know if you want to be a single practice owner. You don't know if you want to be a multi-practice owner. So getting that vision for yourself down, because back in the day when I opened up my practice,
Yeah.
I was like, I got my practice. Yay!
Yay.
Mission accomplished. And then you're like, okay, now what?
I know it. I think you and I both talk about how you're taught to do really, really great clinical skills, in dental school, but you're never taught how to run a business. And, that's probably one of the reasons why you founded Practice by Numbers, was to help doctors understand metrics and understand how to run a business better.
Yeah.
Because,
No,
I mean,
definitely we got to set the pace for the race,
no, that's for sure. That's
And
for sure.
when you're just coming out of school or you're just wanting to buy your practice, you have this one dream as a dentist that I will have my own practice one day, and you do that, and then you're like, okay, I don't know about what software I want to get. Who cares? I have my practice. So this is really helpful for our listeners out there to kind of understand. Right.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the quick wins that a practice can implement right away with Dentrix?
Yeah. And I think I just want to kind of just add on to what you were saying earlier that, it's really important that doctors look at different software, because we hear like in Facebook chats, go with this one. This is the best, and there's all these comments about how good this software is. And you really need to look at what's going to be best for your practice because your practice is unique. And, just because you're getting a good recommendation from a study club, friend, make sure that you're also comparing it to other softwares so that you get a really good comparison and that you can make a really good educated choice for your own practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very important. And I think many of us as dentists and not just dentists in this day and age with social media, we do practice in isolation. So we are, tend to rely on social media and our friends and study clubs and things, but not realizing that sometimes the dentist in that study club or social media post is not living and working in the same demographic as you are. It's very, very important to understand your demographic. And that's, I think for me, it's been one of the key things in having not just our, fellow dentists, but staff members, all of this understand that what is the demographic that you're serving? Because the technology would have to be either drilled up or drilled down based on the people that you're serving, based on the community that you're practicing in. And 100%. I think some of that piece of it gets lost.
Yeah, I know. It's true. So you're asking me about quick wins. So I really think that what is really critical with running a dental practice is, we have to have a full and productive schedule and we have to collect what we produce. I mean, those are the two pillars of running a dental practice. And I think having a full and productive schedule, I would definitely go back to what I said earlier about perfect day scheduling, but how do we keep that schedule full? So I think like one of the quick wins, is knowing what lists you can generate in Dentrix to fill your schedule. And it's also learning, what these lists do for you and how your team should be using them. Because when I think of these scheduling lists, they require attention like every week. There's the unscheduled list, which are patients that have been on the schedule and maybe they've broken or they've missed an appointment or they called and canceled. And so you put them on the unscheduled list. It's really important that you are looking at that list every week and getting those patients rescheduled because they've already been on your schedule. So they're already committed to the appointment, but we just need to follow back up with them. And then the continuing care list, continuing care is the lifeblood of your practice. And so making sure that there's someone on the team that is reaching out to patients that are overdue for the recare. Now, I love automation. We have to have those automated texts and emails that are going out to patients that are overdue. But then, patients do ignore them. And, so you still have to run a continuing care list. Who are my patients overdue? I need to reach out to them. And then we have patients that walk out the door without scheduling recommended treatment. And so knowing the treatment manager report is my favorite report in Dentrix. I call it mining for gold. And so that is a gold mine for helping you fill your doctor's schedule. So I think, looking and making sure that someone on your team is actively working those 3 scheduling lists and helping to keep the schedule full is really, really important. And a quick win, because that is such a great way to get patients back in your schedule who maybe have dropped out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it is all about, torsos in the chair and then getting payments, on time. that is the lifeline of the practice, and
Yep,
just
100%.
understanding that there are resources available within the practice management system to help you streamline this is really, really important. It doesn't matter what practice management system you use, but most of them have resources, and it's good to understand them, find them, use them, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely then you will see that, oh, things are not that complicated. You
Yeah,
can make it easy for yourself.
100%.
What advice would you give to a practice that wants to get more out of Dentrix?
Training. I mean,
A lot of training.
have a training, it's amazing to me that practices that have been using Dentrix for 20 years, and I go in and it's amazed to me how little amount of the software they're using.
Yeah, just they
And
usually using just a fraction of.
a fraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love going into offices and just seeing those light bulbs go off. They're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that Dentrix could do that. I've been using it for 10 years and no one ever told me that. And those are the moments that I love, because I know I just saved them hours in their day if they just knew about this one system or this streamlined workflow.
Mhm.
And I think that is one of the biggest things. Is most offices have never had any professional training, and they rely on Facebook chat rooms or
Mhm.
Googling YouTube videos, and they learn. That's how they learn. And when you get information like that, I think that it can stir curiosity.
Mhm.
I think that Facebook chat rooms and YouTube videos from non-trainers can be a really good way to stir curiosity about, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I didn't know Dentrix could do that. Let me learn how to do that properly in my own software. And
Mhm.
then maybe you have a Dentrix trainer that you're working with, or if you don't, of course, I'm always available.
Yeah.
And so I think training is a big thing. I think that, doctors do CE all year round, hygienists do CE all year round. But as far as doing like full team technology training, technology is changing constantly. I mean, you run a technology company, that your developers are coming out with new features and new workflows
Yeah.
all the time. And the same thing with their practice management software. It's changing all the time. And I think it's really good to have an annual training or bring everybody up to speed.
I
I
agree.
love doing full team days. It's one of my favorite things to do.
No, I completely agree, because sometimes the information that you can get on Facebook groups or even online on YouTube and things, it's great, but it is
Mhm.
scattered. It is scattered, and it is confusing, because sometimes you are trying to pick out what is relevant to you
Mhm.
and is not. So you actually end up spending a lot more time and energy sifting through trying to find the relevance, which in this age of
I
AI
know. I know.
is like, okay, wouldn't it be easier if you had somebody do come in and do an annual training, and that way you can ask the questions that are pertinent to maybe
Mhm.
your office,
Yeah,
and get those answers very systematically organized, so that way then you can actually move forward faster, which is
exactly.
kind of important these days, because everybody's moving fast, for
Yeah.
sure.
And get accurate information,
Yeah.
get correct answers, because I see it every day. I see team members, bless their heart, it's like they're trying their hardest and they're creating a workaround that
Mhm.
seems to be working, but then it breaks something else over here, so
And
um
creates a lot of fatigue.
I
Yeah,
know, I
it
know
does.
it. So if everyone just learned the right way
Yeah.
from the very beginning, everybody would be better.
Yeah. No, completely. So now I'm going to ask you about Novonee. So tell
Okay.
me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I became a certified Dentrix trainer in 2005 and going out individually one-on-one with offices. And I really wanted to serve more people, more offices. And, so I started speaking from the stage and doing more presentations, and I started, kind of getting out there a lot more. And I still wanted to serve more offices. And so I
Bless your
started,
heart.
I know. And so because I'm only one person and I was being stretched so much. And so I started Novonee, and it is a online learning platform, and we have video courses that help you optimize your Dentrix software and improve your system. So we're not a how-to click here, click here. We are teaching you best practices on how to use Dentrix in the best way possible. And so we have online courses, we have a community, we do practice assessments. So we remote into your software. We have power hours every week. These are just open Q&A sessions every week.
Love
and
that.
so now I get to serve hundreds of offices, and it's just been like, I love it. I love it so much. And and now we're having our 10-year anniversary. So I'm super excited. We're going to be launching something brand new within the next week. So that's really exciting.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
that is just incredible. And I can imagine all the time and energy and effort you've put into creating this to expand your reach and to be able to, really spread the education and the training to a broader audience. I mean, that takes a lot of skill and effort, and kudos to you.
Thank you.
And can't wait to see Novonee for myself. That's amazing.
I have a good team behind me, so I can't do it all by myself. I mean,
No,
you know that you have such a good team with you.
I
have
do.
I have an amazing team that helps me with all the behind the scenes things, and they let me bring up crazy ideas and be the visionary. So they just help me execute all my crazy ideas.
No, absolutely. Cheers to our teams, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where we are, without my teams, both at Practice by Numbers and at my dental office, my dental practice.
I know.
They really help support me and my vision. So we would not have what we have without our teams. So
I know.
I
Yep.
completely second that. Now, if our listeners want to reach out to you, Dayna, how can they do that?
The best way is to go to the website, novonee.com. And that's where you will find, you can call the phone number. There's a contact page. That's where all of our free resources are. Like you said, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel. That's where all of our free resources are. And then if you want to book a discovery call, that link will be on the website.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dayna, for joining us today. This was so fun. I really want to dive in deeper and so exciting, because I really wanted to celebrate, again, platforms that have been powering dentistry. And Dentrix is what has obviously been a pillar in the dental community for a very long time.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be a guest. This was a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.